Test, test, test. Check, check, check. Check. Hey, good morning. Just making sure that we're in the ballpark. And it looks like we are.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all here today. Thanks for being here on this shiny, sunny, gorgeous morning. So lovely. Hope you've been able to enjoy the weather this weekend a little bit. I plan to be outside as much as humanly possible, so I hope you do too. Just a couple of things that we want to make sure you're aware of. With the sunshine, with the warmer temps, we are reminded that summer is coming. May will not last forever. To those of you who walked in this morning saying, May is so much. I think I heard it 5 times already this morning. And it is. It's a lot. It's full and it's busy. Wonderful, great, wonderful things. But it is busy, busy, busy. So the summer is coming. That is good news. The summer is coming where life slows down a little bit. So we wanted to be really intentional this summer, as we do every summer, but maybe even more so this year, to make sure we have some points of connection. Because we know vacations happen. Everybody is here, there, and everywhere, right? And we hope that is true for all of you. But we wanted to make sure there's spots outside of Sunday morning that you can connect with folks in case you're at a cottage or on vacation or whatever over the weekend. So every Tuesday night starting this summer, starting on June 3, we're going to have a fireside chat. Most of those will be in the Hairbolt's backyard. There might be a few that we move around a little bit, but for regularity, that's what you can plan every Tuesday night, except the week of Create, because then you all should just be here because it'll be super fun. Yeah, I got a yay. I like it. Excellent, excellent. So those fireside chats will happen. We're also going to do barbecues each holiday weekend. So Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, Labor Day, we're going to do a barbecue all together on Sunday as well. So some different spaces to connect. The Bema group is going to happen over the summer. So lots of good spaces to connect and stay connected with one another coming this Sunday. The first barbecue will happen Memorial Day weekend, and that is coming up here soon, May 25. The Verkijks are going to host that barbecue, 12:30 at their house. There's a sign up. Oh, I didn't put the QR code up. So sorry. If in your Church Center app, there is a sign up for food if you want to bring something to that barbecue. Before that, though, on what would normally be our normal Sunday gathering here, we're still going to gather here, but we're not going to stay here. We're going to walk down 28th Street and go clean up the woods a little bit, do a neighborhood cleanup day. We're inviting the whole neighborhood to participate, so please invite friends if you are going to be here. Invite other neighbors who might live around the area. The Alger Garfield Green Team representatives will be here and giving us supplies to help clean up our neighborhood space. So that'll be a great way to gather that morning, followed by food. Yay. Yeah, more to come on all of those things, but lots of opportunities to connect. So we hope you can feel connected in the midst of a different kind of pace of life, right? All right, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Nate DeWard. He is going to give us a bit of a life update here this morning, some things that impact the life of the branch.
So, hello. I had a chance to speak with Chris in the service last summer, and I shared a little bit about my work as a pastor, but also my work as an executive director at Reach the Forgotten Jail Ministry. And I talked about that as a ministry of transitions. And so I want to give a little bit of an update because I'm going to be going away for 9 months. And it impacts the branch kind of directly because I've been a steward for all of like 3 months. And it's been really impactful for all of us, right, Chris? Oh, yes. So I'm going to be stepping down from that role, and you're going to be looking for 2 stewards of care. That's your big update. My big update is I have an opportunity to be a transitional pastor at St. Thomas Reformed Church in the Virgin Islands. And that's, yes, you all can come. In fact, we're having a church picnic there for the branch. Yeah, did I not share that with you? So it's a really unique opportunity to journey with a church whose pastor is retiring at the end of June. So I'll be leaving on June 18 and then walking with this church for 9 months as their transitional pastor. My work at Reach the Forgotten has graciously given a 9-month unpaid leave of absence, so I have a job to come back to. And there's good stuff happening on that side of things to be able to step away from that work and that team operate in my absence. That's a really good thing. And Andrea and I are going to be down there together, and she will be joining in August. And then Noelle and Micah hopefully join us on their Christmas break and some of those times as well. So for the branch, I was joking saying, it's me, not you. Can we still be friends? Yes, we can still be friends. And I look forward to returning in April of 2026. And in the meantime, the stewards have asked, how can we support you guys as a family? I think the biggest thing is just to continue to support Noelle and Micah. And if you want to follow me and pray for me, there's a Substack that I just started this week that I'm going to be first talking about what is a transitional ministry, because it's a very unique period in the life of a church. And then second, I'm going to be publicizing and kind of broadcasting the opportunity, which the whole St. Thomas thing shouldn't be hard to sell people on, but the deeper ministry and like commitment past the glossy brochure, that's actually the deeper work that needs to be done, is finding a pastor who understands the context of post-colonial Caribbean life and all of that stuff. So deep work in a church whose values really align with the branch or vice versa. It's compatible with the branch's values as a congregation, which is really important for me to be with people who represent the kinds of things that the branch is all about. So I love you guys. Thank you for loving me. Thanks for loving my family. That's all I got.
I do not have an interesting announcement. I have a call to worship. Jesus, knowing that he could have used power and position for his own gain, knelt to wash feet. The one with all authority chose the posture of service. Whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant, he said. We come not to grasp for position, but to learn humility at his feet. In a world that prizes power and reward, we remember the hands that held a towel, not a sword or scepter. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life. May we follow him in self-giving love. Come, people of God, let us join our hearts and minds with this servant king. We worship with open hands and ready hearts, prepared to serve and love.
I invite you to stand and sing a song about love and about open hearts and receiving that love so that we can give it away. The song is "Will We Ever Rise?"
Will we ever rise? Will we ever rise above the fear? Can we learn to
seat. That is the thing that only love can do, right? Love can break our hearts when we are connected to others, but love can also build us back up. Today is Mother's Day, as I think most of you probably know. Maybe some of the kids just went, "Oh no." If so, it's okay. I got you. Mother's Day is a day filled with the complexity of the human experience, as is every other day, but maybe more a little bit in your face on Mother's Day, right? For some of us, and for some of the people in our world and in our spheres, this is a beautiful day to celebrate a mother's love and the goodness that comes with that. And for others, this day carries a lot of hard emotions, whether we have lost a mother or a mother-in-law or a grandmother, or we've lost children, or relationships aren't as you want them to be, right? There's just so much in this day that a simple Happy Mother's Day maybe doesn't quite cover what we all feel today, right? So I came across a post this week. I told you last week I'm slightly obsessed with somebody named Valerie Kaur. I'm going to read more of her stuff today to you because I think it's great. She had a post on Mother's Day, but instead of just saying mothers and let's celebrate mothers, she changed the language to celebrate mothering, which I think is really beautiful because as I look back over my journey as a mom, friends, I don't do it alone, and any mom will tell you, you don't do it alone. We had some dear friends in Chicago who had a bunch of kids, and we just respected them really, really greatly as parents. And when we first started having kids, we're like, what did you do? Like, why do we respect you so much as parents? And they said, surround your kids with good people. And that is such a beautiful village community kind of example, and I think that's what Valerie Kaur is talking about here. Just being a mom doesn't mean you are the only one who mothers, right? I can list you a whole number of people who have mothered my children, and not all of them are women. So this act of mothering, this act of loving and showing up in the world is bigger than just one person. I think the quote that's up on your screen right now, she says, mothering is a capacity that resides in each of us. It's not a biological destiny, nor can it be confined to a sphere of life. She also goes on to say, we need mother love more than ever, a wellspring that never runs dry, that powers courage we did not know we had. So today, as our prayer practice, we wanted to invite you into a time of reflection, of thinking, who has mothered you well? And instead of just thinking, oh, that's a really special, wonderful person, maybe if they're still alive, send them a note. Grab your phone and send them a text, or put a note in your phone to call them later on today. If they're not, maybe tell somebody about that person in your life who mothered you well. And if you are one of the people for whom Mother's Day is hard because of your relationship with your mom, can I invite you to mother that part of you? And maybe send yourself a note. Send the child who needed a mother's love more than they got it. Send yourself a note to say, this is what I would say to that child. We're going to take just a couple of minutes. So think about a person who has mothered you well, who has shown you love that gives you courage, that helps you keep moving forward in life. Send them a note. Make a note to call them. Send yourself a note, whatever that is. But we'll take a couple of minutes to do that here before we move on this morning. this little baby just being held and loved by whoever and surrounding these parents with love and the child with love as they grow up here too. So I hope you will call someone later today and tell them how much their love has meant to you and how much it has encouraged you to keep taking steps of courage and goodness in the world. All right. More mothering love is going to happen here as our kids are loved by the adults that are walking out with them. Amy and Noelle and Lucy and somebody else that I can't remember are going to take our kids out here. But before they go, let's all show them a little love and speak this blessing over them. The words are up on your screen. May your time together be filled with wonder, joy, and lordship. You are loved. Bye, you all. We'll see you back here soon. For the rest of you, would you stand and say hello to someone nearby or somebody maybe you don't know? If you're online, we'd love to hear from you as well this morning. Go say hello.
Grab a seat. Find your spot back again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Teresa's already talked a little bit about mothers this morning. I was thinking this week that it's hard to think of a group of people more worthy of honor than those who mother, right? It really is a pretty remarkable group if you can think of a group of people. And are there exceptions, and are all mothers exceptional? Well, no. But kind of as a group, it's hard to think of a group more worthy of honor or more worthy of celebration. And I think part of that is because, to me, mothers are a group of people who so well exemplify sacrificial love. Or to say it slightly differently in a way that connects to what we're going to talk about this morning, mothers are not in it for the profit. You know what I mean? There's no profit. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there something to be gained from mothering well? Yes, of course. We are changed by it. But there's no profit, no direct kind of way in which we benefit somehow, and only we benefit. Which is interesting. And this kind of gets to my mixed emotions about this day, because I think what certainly has happened in our culture over decades and decades is that we've turned a day meant to honor and celebrate into a day that, at least in part, is about profiting. There's this whole industry that has now come and sprung up that leverages our love for mothers in order to make money. And that's the goal alone. And so that's also tricky, I think, a little bit. Again, there's no group more worthy of honor and celebration, but it's gotten perhaps a bit twisted. So I want to invite you to hold on to both of those things this morning. That as a group of people, I'm not sure there's a better group of people than those who mother and mother well. And we live in a world, we especially as Americans live in a culture that turns everything, I don't know if there's an exception, turns everything into a question of profit. Is it profitable? Can we get something out of it for ourselves? So that's what we're going to talk about. Hang on to those two things. We're going to encounter two longer texts this morning, one from Matthew 20, and then an even longer one from John 13. I did print out the John 13 one because we're going to use it at the end of our time again. But this is just kind of like a sit back and let these stories kind of work their way into you this morning. This isn't just a couple of verses. We needed to read the entire context for these two. But first is Matthew 20. Then the mother of James and John, we got a story about a mom. That's not on purpose. That's just accidental. The sons of Zebedee came to Jesus with her sons, and she knelt respectfully to ask a favor. "What is your request?" Jesus asked. And she replied, "In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left." But Jesus answered by saying to them, "You don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink?" Jesus is nearing the end of his life here when this encounter happens. "Oh, yes," they replied, "we are able, of course." And Jesus told them, "You will indeed drink from my bitter cup. But I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen." Interlude, do-do-do-do-do, they keep walking down the road. When the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant. Perfectly timed. But Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, And whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man," that's Jesus, a title for Jesus, "came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So here we have this exchange with Jesus, a mother, her two sons, and the rest of the disciples. A little bit later, not much later, we have another story. Jesus again with his disciples. And this time they're in that room where they share the Last Supper. And just prior to that meal happening, this takes place. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. And Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. And when Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never, ever wash my feet." And Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Jesus, by the way, is talking about something more here than just actually physically washing Peter's feet. Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet." And Jesus replied, "A person who is bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean. And you disciples are clean, but not all of you." For Jesus knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, "Not all of you are clean." After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them." So 2 stories that I think get at the same idea. They illuminate something that's true about our world that I've already hinted at, something that is so deeply entrenched in just human culture throughout time that I don't know, do we take it for granted? We don't maybe think about it very often because it's just the air that we breathe. And it goes something like this. The world's philosophy says that you and I are to use our power for personal profit. And when I say the word profit, you might think of money, understandably, but think of it more broadly. The dictionary defines profit as obtaining an advantage or benefit. Certainly that could be fiscal in nature, but it doesn't have to be. And the world's philosophy says that you are to use your power, your resources, your skills, your time to profit yourself. Kind of the thinking is that it's a jungle out there, right? It's a cutthroat sort of world. You've got to claw and fight for what you can get. And you should, in fact, do exactly that. Because if you don't, then you're going to get left behind. You're going to miss out. You're not going to get yours. You'll be down at the bottom of the ladder looking at everyone else who is willing to climb over everyone else, and they'll have the nice house, and their Instagram feed will be filled with pictures of their extravagant vacations, and you, poor you, will not experience the same kind of things. This is the dominant philosophy. Use whatever you have, resources, time, your words, your actions, whatever power you have for your own benefit. It's the dominant philosophy now. It was, interestingly, then as well. Now, again, it's Mother's Day. I don't want to speak ill of a mother, but in this first story that we read, the mother of James and John doesn't quite come off well in the end, right? And yet, I don't blame her a bit for what she's doing. Or, let me say it this way, I have a lot of empathy for her. Because I can kind of imagine myself doing the same thing. What parent doesn't want their children to have the best and the most? I mean, this kind of gets off the rails, I think, today very easily as parents. But there's an instinct in us to want what is best for our kids. And so this mother, perhaps just operating out of that instinct, goes to Jesus and says, I have a favor to ask. Can you ensure that my two sons get the seats at your left and right? In other words, those are the seats of power. The right-hand man, the left-hand man. These are the places of authority. Because she imagines that Jesus, as a Messiah, is going to literally set up an earthly kingdom, and he will sit on a literal throne. This is the thinking of probably most of the people who followed Jesus. And so he's, of course, going to have right hand and left hand advisors and other such folks. So she's trying to make sure that those spots get filled for her boys. But where does that philosophy lead? That instinct to use power for personal gain. We see a couple things in these two stories. In the first one, with this mother making this request, where do things end up? You know, first it's just her pulling Jesus aside quietly. I wonder why. Because, of course, if everyone else finds out her requests are going to be angry, and they are. They are. One of the things that happens when we use what we have within our possession and person, our power, for profit, is that it fractures our relationships. It separates us. It divides us. It does not bring us together. And we see that in this story. The other 10 disciples, when they learn about this request, are indignant. Why? Because they've missed out on their chance to now sit in these seats, they're thinking. James and John beat them to the punch, you know. They had hoped maybe, too, that whatever power they had or whatever position they had as a disciple of Jesus would get them something. So we know that this decision to profit leads to fracturing. What else do we know from this passage? Well, in that second one, at the end of the first one, this is still the story of Jesus and James and John and the mother coming and making a request. We have a couple of words that are used, and I'm going to invite you to kind of be a little nerdy here for a moment. We don't do this very often, but this is, I think, interesting, Jesus' word choice. Remember, everyone gets angry, and then Jesus sits them down and says, you know that the rulers in this world lord it over them. That's how our English translates it. And then he says in the next sentence, and the great ones are tyrants, right? Lord it over is a Greek word that looks like that. Good luck trying to say it. I don't know, it's a tricky one. And then the word tyrants comes from this Greek word. And here's just what I want to point out. That prefix there, K-A-T-A or K-A-T-E, is an intensifier word, and it changes the root that it's attached to. So kyrieusin, that top non-yellow word there, K-Y-R-I-E-O, you get the idea. That one means on its own, if it was on its own, it just means power or authority. It doesn't necessarily have a negative connotation. But when you attach that K-A-T-A to it, it intensifies it and it turns it into domination or oppression, lording it over. And then the other one, oops, let me go back here. Oh, well, now I'm all lost. I tried. Anyway, doesn't matter. You get the idea. The other root word simply means on its own to rule. But when you attach that intensifier to it, it means heavy-handed, or again, it can mean oppressive. Jesus uses these two words purposefully to try and communicate what is typical in the world, which is to use your power, your authority, your position to oppress, to bring the other person down, to get ahead yourself. And what does Jesus say? Among you, it will not be like this. Right? There's a predictability to this philosophy. If the philosophy is that we're supposed to use our power for personal profit, there's a predictability to it. And the predictability is that if you live by this philosophy, relationships are going to be fractured. There's also, though, a predictability when we leverage our power in service. Both are predictable. Live this way and it's predictable that relationships are going to fracture. There will be separation, there will be anger, there will be division, there will be hurt, there will be pain. There's also predictability when we leverage our power in service. So let's go back to the story for a moment of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Just click there they are again. How nice. Okay, there we go. And I want to ask you a couple questions. Think of the story of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Can you imagine yourself in that story? And if so, what would you have felt and what would you have witnessed? When Jesus picked up the basin of water, when he picked up the towel, wrapped it around his waist, how would that have made you feel? And what would you have been thinking? And then as the story progressed and as he went around the table, one person after another, one foot after another, what would you have thought? I'm going to read the story again, and I'm just going to invite you to think and to feel and to try with your imagination to put yourself in the story. Before I read it one more time, though, let me just say this. It's implied, you get the sense in the text, but I want to make it explicit. That we know from Roman writings of the time period, Jewish writings, we have Old Testament passages that tell us that this is true. We know from multiple sources that the job of washing your guests' feet when they come over to your home, you are hosting them. The job of washing your guests' feet was a common practice that showed great hospitality to your guest, and it was to be done by the lowest person in your home. It was a menial task, even in a way a bit demeaning. The person who was hosting certainly did not wash the feet of the people. So that's the cultural context. Very common to be a guest and to have your feet washed, but by the lowest person in the home. So let me read. The scripture's not going to be up here on the screen again. I just invite you to listen here as I read parts of that John 13 passage. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I am doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never, ever wash my feet." And Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." So Simon Peter explained, "Then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet." After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." So I'd appreciate just a little bit of open conversation here. If you can put yourself in this story and imagine yourself around that table, and you watch Jesus pick up the basin of water that you know what this basin is for. This is no surprise to you. In fact, maybe you've been waiting for someone to wash your feet. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you witnessing? And what are you thinking about? I'd love to hear what comes to your mind.
I guess in the cultural context, just a lot of confusion and maybe even bordering on horror.
Yeah,
This is not how it's supposed to be.
that's right. A lot of confusion. Did you say horror almost? Like shock. Yeah, and you're horrified that this is the way it's going down. Yeah. Yeah. Very uncomfortable. Yeah. Ooh, when's this going to be done? I don't like this. If Jesus is washing your feet, you feel not worthy. Is that what you said? Yeah. Yeah. Like Peter. That's what's going on. At least part of what's going on for Peter there. Don't wash my feet. No way. No way.
I'm thinking about moments where my worldview gets changed,
Hmm.
and I think I have this full body shock, oh my, I don't know, it's I don't know, Dorothy seen behind the curtain or something. It's what? That's what's there.
Yeah. Yeah, this moment when everything shifts and pivots, and it's like seeing behind the curtain. Dorothy seeing behind the curtain, and it's big, and it's, Why is he doing it when he doesn't need to? Yeah. It's a good question. I'm sure they were asking it, right? Is that what you're thinking? That they're wondering, why is he doing this? Mm. Mm. Yeah. Appreciate that. It would be easier to have the lowest person in the room wash your feet, but it would feel very different if it was Jesus doing it. Yeah. if I'm understanding you right, Deb, you're saying that Jesus is highlighting the humility, which contrasts quite greatly with what the mother is requesting. Yeah. I appreciate you kind of speaking to what it would be like to have your feet washed. I wonder what that feels like for everybody. If you can imagine actually having someone touch your feet. Now, again, culturally, very different, right? Maybe a fairly common, not the first time that you've had someone wash your feet if you're in this culture, nonetheless. Has anyone, by curiosity, ever been at a foot washing service? Churches sometimes do this, yeah. It's odd. It's a very humbling, unusual, uncomfortable, I'm speaking personally, but like also very intimate, right? To have someone touching your feet, that's a very close, personal sort of experience to have with someone. Yeah. Do you think by the end of the experience, Bethany is saying that she's kind of imagining this shifting. Do you think that was happening for people? Like, what are you feeling and thinking when you're at the end of it? And it's taken a bit of time to go around the table and wash all these different people's feet. This isn't like a quick experience, so you have time to sit there and think, wonder what in the world, and then Jesus speaks to you and says, well, I did this so that you will now do it to each other. Like, is that what you expected to happen? What are you thinking there at the end? What's that? Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, very interesting. Thanks, Laura. Like, what would it have been like to be at the next foot washing experience in the future for them? How would it have been different? Mm-hmm. Here we are again. Yep. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 Feet get pretty dirty, don't they? Yeah, pretty dirty. Mm-hmm. Not the most pleasant experience. Yeah, that basin of water gets pretty gross pretty quick, I suspect. Yeah. Yep. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. You're not saying this exactly, so just shake your head if you're like, that's not what I said. But what that makes me think of is like, we can feel the uncomfort of being the person sitting and having our feet washed, but Jesus being Jesus, he wasn't uncomfortable. And so he could be authentic and fully present in that moment and maybe say something to someone or look at someone in a certain way that was transformative. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Thanks, Mike. Shift in mindset in that command there to go and do the same. Yeah. From what I read, not only was it the lowest person, I mean, first of all, not everyone's throwing dinner parties, okay? The people who are throwing dinner parties and having folks over are people who are well-to-do. They probably have servants or slaves. And those are the people who are washing the feet. And it's, so again, this is like the lowest of the low. These are people with just no rights, no future, nothing. They're on the bottom rung. And Jesus says, be like those people. Use your power to serve in that way. So, you have power. And I think we often tell ourselves, I do not have any power, but you do. And if you don't believe me, just go to someone who you love and say the meanest thing you can imagine and see if your words don't have power. They do. Your words, at the very least, have great power. Your actions have power. When you call someone, as Teresa is suggesting, and then use the power of your words to speak affirmation to someone who is mothering to you, that is a powerful experience. Or when you use your body to drive to a store to buy food to make a meal for someone who's in a rough spot, that's you using your power in a certain way. And of course, you have resources. Maybe not as many resources as you'd like to have, but you do have resources. All of us do. And how we use them is an act of power. So you have power, more than you probably think you do. And the question, I think, of these stories, at least the one I'm inviting us to consider today, is how are you and how am I using the power that we have? Is it simply to get ours, to get ahead, to profit ourselves, or are we heeding these words of Jesus? I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I think that's the question of the morning, and one we'll have to keep sitting with here long after we leave this place. But this meal really asks the question as well. This meal has a lot to say about power and how power is chosen to be used and leveraged. There's the verse there, the way the story begins, I do want to highlight this. The foot washing story. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority, power, over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, and wrapped a towel around his waist. That little bit there should not be missed. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything and that he had come from God and would return to God. In other words, Jesus has a lot of power, a lot of authority, a lot of position in many ways, and he chooses to use that power in these ways. In wrapping a towel around his waist, in carrying a cross, in offering his very life. So this meal has a lot to say about what we're talking about today and what philosophy we are choosing to base our lives on. So, you are welcome at this table. We invite you to share in this meal with us this morning. If you are desiring to be a person who uses what power they have for the sake of the other, then you are welcome at this table. We'll have a few folks up here serving bread and cup and a gluten-free option. We'll have a couple people in the back serving bread and cup. cup. You can come forward, receive these gifts, take them back to your seat, and we will eat and drink them together. I need a few people who are willing and able to help serve here this morning. We'll split folks up. Thanks, Nolan. I'll do this. Thanks, Deb. Need a couple more people. Oh, you're totally fine. You can do that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. If you're online, we hope you're gathering something from your home that represents bread and cup. It doesn't have to be exactly those things. But friends, these are the gifts of God for the people of God. Let's share them together here this morning. We did it. We made it. Perfect timing by the kiddos. Way to come back. Just the right moment. Boy, this is a very, very tangible reminder of a life willing to be given up and offered for the sake of others. So we remember that as we take and eat. body broken, a life poured out, yes. Certainly reminders in this meal. But also in this meal is the meal part of it. It feeds us. It nourishes us. It moves us forward. And so we take and drink remembering that God is with us, propelling us forward into this life that we are called to live. We found these glass cups down in the basement. I know, huh? Ooh, a little treasure, right? Huh? Who knew? You'll have to take it from me, thank you. Well, whoever is gracious enough every week to serve in the little kitchenette over here, setting out cafe stuff, and then afterwards, that's the person or the people who generally wash these every week for us. I know it, yep. I have heard complaints that they don't hold enough juice or they hold less juice than other cups. We apologize for that. We think that the environmental impact outweighs the ounce less of juice that you might receive, but we apologize for shorting you in that way. Okay. Are you ready to lead us to the
I'm
final
ready.
song?
I
Yeah.
almost forgot, but now I'm ready. I was enjoying this moment so much with all of you. So I'm going to invite you all to stand and sing one more song about sacrificial love, about the love that we hold on to so that we can give it away. And the only way that we can do that is by opening up our own hearts to see the need around us, to see where love is not present. So let's sing that this morning together.
You heard the cry of our hearts, and you came down. Freely you gave us your love, showing us how. Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is darkness, let me shine light. May your love cause us to open up, cause us to open up our hearts. May your light cause us to shine so bright that we bring hope into the dark. All that we do without love, it means nothing. Grant us the courage to give. shine so bright that we bring hope into the dark.
I'm going to have you sit down for just a moment. I want to say two things. One, I know that there is musical talent here in this room. Singers, musicians. Some of the talent might be fairly novice, if we're being honest. Okay, we can be honest with each other. But I wonder who in this community could help us right now with music, with playing once a month or with singing. And if you're interested in at all in what that might mean or look like, talk to Teresa or myself. We'd love to have you. This is one of our core values, partnership, and this is how we tried to put some language to it. We cannot do it alone. The problems of the world and our lives require the support of others, so we choose to live interconnected lives. This value gets lived out in our partnership with nonprofits that we have a relationship with, like the Neighborhood Collaborative, like AYA Youth Collective. But it can also happen even more organically. And we have a video here from
Hi everyone,
Leah
if you don't know me, my
Ferenczi.
name is Leah.
Leah's
I'm a student at Michigan State.
But she's a branch person. And she texted us a couple weeks back and said, hey, I'm doing this project at school, this work at school. It's more than really just a project, much more than that. I should not have said it in that way. She's part of this work to come alongside of students who are in the juvenile justice system and support them. And one way that her and some of her peers at Michigan State are trying to do this is to provide these students with basic care items. And you're going to see in this video that's pretty short, she does a great job of keeping it succinct, a couple ways to support. I'll make it clear at the end how we can do that as well. But let's watch this.
Hi everyone, if you don't know me, my name is Leah. I'm a student at Michigan State University and I'm enrolled in the Adolescent Diversion Program, which is one of MSU's experiential learning courses where each student in the course is assigned to be a mentor and advocate for a youth who is involved in the Ingham County juvenile court system. These youth can be between the ages of 8 to 18, and unfortunately, a lot of them do not have access to basic necessities, food, clothing, shoes, hygiene items, and this can contribute to a lot of other issues that they might be dealing with, things like truancy or consistent absences from school, mental health problems, depression, anxiety, and just generally feeling confident in themselves because they don't have things like clean clothes or soap, shampoo, conditioner, things like that. So if you are able to donate any of these hygiene items that are on this list here, that would be amazing. We are working to create a store for these youth to visit to access some of these items for free. The students will be providing, the university students in the course are providing all the clothes and shoes, but we do still need some of these hygiene items. These youth are ages 8 to 18, so really anything in that age range. We work with youth with all different hair types and skin types and textures. So anything on this list would be very much appreciated to help them to feel more confident in themselves, to feel like they can go to school, to feel like they are comfortable and safe. Having these really basic needs met can be a really big contributing factor for that.
Okay. That list
will be sent out in your email. It's been happening all morning. Super fun. We'll send that out in your email, but then we'll actually write out the list too. So you'll have just the list to see. So we'll send that out today, and we'll put that up on our social media as well. So she said any sizes from travel size to full size, whatever you pick up are available, are welcome. We'll have a collection box in the building for the next few Sundays. She's going to be here on May 31st to pick it up. So we have a couple of weeks here.
Yep. And if you're a person who's like, I don't know what to buy or I don't have time to buy, but I'd be willing to, donate some money, if you can go to our website and click on the Give Online button. You can use the Church Center app. There's a Give tab there. We have a separate fund set up for this. You'll see it. It's called
Youth Support Store.
Thanks. Youth Support Store. It'll be obvious which one it is of the few that you can choose from, and you can just donate there, and then we'll get that money to them, or we'll purchase the items before Leah comes. So, this is, again, partnership. This is us as a community connecting and working together on something that matters. And it's not the first time that someone from the branch has come and said, hey, I've noticed this need. Can we help as a community? And most of the time we're able to say yes. So when Leah texted us and said, hey, I'm working on this thing and I thought of this community, I knew this community would be open to the idea, we were like, our hearts were like so happy, because how special to have a college-aged person think that highly of us, right? It's a really big deal. Okay, I think that's enough talking from me for today. Not true, I have to give you a blessing. Stand up, and then I'll be done. Then I'll be done. Friends, as you go into your week, may you be aware of the ways in which our world invites you to use your power. And then may you be people who purposefully choose to use that power for the other. Be those people this week. Amen. Thanks for being here, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine. What a beautiful